Well, greetings. This is the next in a series of videos that we're doing here on some of the Google apps that are available to anyone who wants to join the Google universe. And Betty Frick's here with me we're both from the Longmont Senior Computer Tech Center, SCTC in Longmont, Colorado. We're associated with the Senior Center, and we provide assistance to seniors and actually anyone who asks on technical issues on devices and software and all that kind of stuff. So this is just a whole series on Google apps. And let me just share a screen here really quickly, and if I can find it here and show you where we are in this thing. We've done a couple of these ahead of time. We've done our introduction and summary, and then we did something on some Google basics, so you can look at those if you don't know how to get into the accounts and things. Today we're going to start in Google Docs, and we're going to talk about creating a new document. So that's where we're going to go today. And so I'm just going to start right off. Before we start, Betty, do you have any things that you'd like to know about how to open a document or whatever? What kind of things come to mind, or do you just want to see how it works and then ask questions?
Yeah, the latter, just
Okay.
the general how-tos.
Okay, so I'm going to go to this other screen and share it. And in this screen, I'm going to get into the what we talked about in the last session was how to get into Google. And this is one way of doing it. How do we get to a Google Doc, and how do we start one up? How do we open one up and create it? There's a couple of different ways. Let me give you one way that will be my not so recommended way, but you might be in Google Drive. And over here on the left-hand side, there's a new button that if you click on that and you go down here to Google Docs, and if I click on that one, it will open up a blank document. That's kind of the roundabout way, but if you're in Google Drive already, it's a way of doing it. My preferred way is over here on the right in the Google selection thing, is to go down and find Google Docs, and click on that, and you go directly into Google Docs. So that's the way I do it most of the time, because that way it gives you a way of saying, what do I want to do here? And the screen that comes up when you want to start creating is the blank one. That's typically the way I go. But they give you some options here. You could do a recipe or a resume or a letter or different kinds of project proposals or something, and go through their templates. But or if you're working with one that you've already worked with, they will be down here in these earlier things. But I'm going to create a new document, a blank one. And what comes up here is basically a screen that looks like any word processor. You know, it's basically that. You just start typing and do what you want. So if I want to type something, it just goes right here into the document. But I want to start off by just saying the one thing that I want you to remember when you open up a new document, Google Docs is a little bit different than maybe what you're used to with maybe a Microsoft Word or an Apple product or something. But up here in the upper left-hand corner, there's a thing called, it says Untitled Document. And the first time you open up a new document, it's going to put something in there. So it tries to take something that I've got written in there, but I'm going to say test document. That would be like if you work with most other word processors, that would be when you say save or save as, you type in the name of whatever your document is. And this is where you do it in Google Docs, is up here in this upper left-hand corner. So once you've done that, then the next thing is you can just start typing things in. Next stuff.
So Bruce,
yeah,
I do have a question. So now
sure.
you've typed very important text in there.
Yeah.
Is it automatically saved? How do I save it?
Okay, that's the one big difference you get in Google Docs, and a
Okay.
very important question, because it's something you kind of have to get used to if you've been in the, say, the Microsoft Word world for most of your life, like I have, is that you don't save. It automatically does stuff.
Huh.
It's automatically saved. I think if you saw right up in this area up here, if I type something new in here, new,
Ah,
look,
oh,
see, it
wow.
says saving.
Cool.
Now,
Yay. One less
now
thing to do.
what, yeah, it eliminates that one issue that I used to have years ago with Microsoft Word, was if you forget to save it when you get out, and then you don't have anything that you just did. Now, one thing that Google Docs does in this, and we'll get to this in the next one a little bit more, but these little undo and redo things are more important in Google Docs than they are in most other things, but it's always going to remember the last things you did. So if I go up here into this undo, it goes back, and I can go back and as far as I want and eliminate stuff that I put in, or redo, go back to all my crazy typing, and then get into it. So that's what you kind of have to get used to. That's a little bit different in Google Docs than is in everything else. But as I said, I've named the document, I'm done, it's saved, everything's done. And then if I just get out of it, I'm going to click on this little left arrow up here to get out of Google Docs, back to my main screen, and you can see that this test document is now in here. And if I want to go back to it, I can go back to it. And interestingly enough, it still remembers the last, it doesn't remember the last things I did. That was the one thing that I always forget about this one, is that once you get out of it, all your undo stuff doesn't work. So you really don't, you can't go back that way. So that's basically it. Any other questions you can think of on just creating a new document? If I were to go into some of the, just say a letter, it brings that up in their format, and you can actually use, they always throw a lot of Latin words in there when you're doing a letter. Lorem ipsum dolor, my 8th grade Latin doesn't come back to me. But you can create a letter using their format, or you can find all kinds of interesting things online with their, up here they have a template gallery that you can go to get templates if you're doing something. I've never found the right template for what I'm working on, so I guess it's something, if you're working on a resume, that might be, people are really picky about their own preference for a resume or something, but that's basically it on creating a document.
So I have a couple questions, and maybe we will cover these in the next video, but can we create our own Google template and put it up there in the template gallery?
I do not know. I will check on that, and we'll cover that at some future thing.
Sorry, Bruce.
That's all right. It's not something I've gotten into, but template gallery, there's a whole lot of them here.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know how you'd create one and save it. I know in Microsoft Word, if you create your own template, you can save it as a template type. But I don't know. I'll have to check on that, and we'll add that into the next piece.
And then the other question, and you may be covering this in the next one, about spell check or autocorrect. That's this annoying piece of Microsoft software, but sometimes it's good because it catches mistakes.
Yeah, let me see if I can go back to my little test document, which that's a good point. But I'm going to go to my test document. and I'm going to type in something misspelled.
Ah,
And
ah.
it does just like Word, but if
Mhm.
you go there, typically you can click on it
Ah,
and it will give you recommendations,
good.
and you can just go up there and it'll correct it.
All right, thank you.
That's a good point. Okay. And we'll get into that probably in the next one a little bit. So
Okay.
let me stop the share, and I hope this is helpful in the first little step in creating a document in Google Docs.